to the second hour of Love Babz Love Talk. The wheels do indeed keep turning. I am delighted this morning to talk to the Elm City Lit Fest founder, Ife Michelle Gardine. And is it Jania? Do I say Jania? Y'all unmute yourselves. Jania Ray Moore from now, I'm excited about this. The Popular Romance Fiction and Literature of Hope Conference that's happening at Yale University. She's the ringleader for that. And my soror and prolific, I guess she's probably one of the most popular historical romance writers living today.
Oh,
And
bless you.
hello, soror Beverly Jenkins. It's
Well,
nice to
I'm
finally
not a,
talk to you.
I know, I'm not a Delta. I'm a Sigma, but part of the Divine
Ah.
Nine. So, it all works
Yay.
out. But
Well, I'm
yeah,
glad. Listen, we are
I'm,
all sisters in the struggle, girl.
girl, hey, I've been here
So,
70 years. So yeah, I know.
oh, all right, all right. So, let's get into it. So, Ife, tell me, the Elm City Lit Fest and the Yale folks are partnering this year. Talk a little bit about how that came about, and let's get into this conversation. Y'all can unmute yourselves. Jania, you can unmute yourself.
Oh my God. My
I
eyes
can't hear you.
janky.
Okay, there you go.
Okay. Genia Ree Moore, it comes through the Possible Futures. She participates in the knitting and buys things, and we was hanging out.
Yeah, your
And of
Wi-Fi is falling in and out.
course, Lauren, who was on previous, the telling her about. I'm I'm gonna switch.
Okay. So Jania, you give us your take on how this partnership came together.
No problem. And thank you, Babz, for having us. Good to see you, Miss Babz. This is so
Hey, good to
exciting.
see you too.
Yeah, we're thrilled. So, as Ife was starting to say, we connected this spring, I think, um, probably early spring. I knew that a group of us at Yale were planning to do a romance fiction conference. And so, of course, went to Possible Futures, our wonderful local independent bookstore that celebrates romance readers and writers. And Ife, Michelle, is also connected with Possible Futures. And I had heard of Ife and had maybe connected with her separately at other community events, but really the book space was our realization, oh, I'm doing this event, you're planning the Lit Fest, we're looking at the same time, why don't we just do this together and really kind of shake things up and how, academic conferences proceed in this town.
Mm. And so Beverly, they invited you to come because
Yes.
you're one of the most popular romance writers out there in the world today, and you are a Black woman, and you write historical romance. Like people live and die by these things. So, what does it mean to be considered at the highest academic level for this genre of books?
Well, it's humbling for a little colored girl from the east side of Detroit, right? Um, and when Jania told me that she wanted to incorporate some of my work into her dissertation, I was floored. Um, I've had academics teach my books in the classes, and have done some many things at universities, but this was novel, and it was very, very. I mean, it's one of those blessings that you never think that you're gonna get, but very, very pleased and looking forward to it, and love being able to tell our history in a way that hasn't been done before, I guess. I mean, I guess this sort of had this niche to myself for 20 years. So I'm honored and blessed and all that. And like I said, looking forward to meeting everybody next week and seeing what happens. Like, yeah.
So Jania, why romance novels? Like, what is it about romance novels that caught your attention?
That's such a great question. Several things, and I should share, I'm a doctoral student at Yale in the African American Studies and Religious Studies department. And so I'm coming from that perspective and that location. But just as a reader, I think I had always enjoyed various genres of fiction and romance and included in that, you know, as a kid, preteen, and then continuing on into adulthood. But now as an academic, what I find so appealing is the accessibility of these books, right? We've been reading them, I don't know, I have since well before getting into a PhD program, and continue to read them hopefully after I get out of here. But just really that level and range of the medium of literature as a space, as Beth was saying, for sharing history in novel ways. You know, a lot of ivory tower academic work does not have that reach. Romance is the most popular segment of the fiction industry, the most lucrative. And so I think that really tells us something about, you know, how people learn, what people desire, and, you know, a real radical way to teach Black history. So that's my own personal take. I will say that I'm joined on the organizing committee by some wonderful fellow doctoral students who also read romance. So
when I talked to Dr. Katrina Jackson, who writes under her name Katrina Jackson, about romance didn't always enjoy this good reputation. Now, you know, people used to frown upon romance as a literary work of art, but here it is now, like the thing that is holding up particularly Black romance, holding down the publishing industry. Did that have some bearing on why you brought this conference together? Like, did you want people to know that, you know what, there are Black people out here writing good doggone romance books?
absolutely. Yeah, you hit the nail on the head. I think that challenge to the way that romance is or has been pejoratively viewed as trashy or as less than, or, you know, just genre fiction generally, there's often a false divide between what's considered literary and, you know, Ms. Bev talks about this, and what are more popular forms of literature. Yeah.
So Ife, this is Elm City Lit Fest fifth year, fourth year, fifth year.
It's Lit Fest fourth year, and we're just very honored to be in collaboration with this conference, and it adds so much to what the programming that we already had, because we also are partnering with Jamaican American Connection. So all the entertainment and the plaza and food will be Jamaican, will be Caribbean, actually, not just Jamaican, but Caribbean. We'll have good Caribbean food trucks and a couple of steel bands and some dancing. It's going to be fun. I'm looking forward to it.
Oh, good. So, all right. So this is the first partnership with Yale at this level. Is there a romance conference every year, or this year is this, next year is science fiction, or whatever it is? Like, you know what I mean? Like, does it shift and change, or it depends on the doctoral students?
No, ma'am, this is a one-time, one and done sort of deal. Although, of course, we would be honored if other people on campus here or elsewhere were inspired, honestly, as we were. This isn't the first conference on romance to happen. There was one at Princeton, I want to say in 2009, Steph spoke there. There were several at Bowling Green, both before Bowling Green State University, before and after the Princeton conference. So we're really, you know, standing on the shoulders of work that has been done and is being done at other institutions. And with Ife's Elm City Lit Fest, you know, fourth annual, I went to, I think the third Lit Fest, was that the one? Yeah, in person. And just the span of writers that are brought to the community at the Lit Fest is its own instructive model, I think, for us at Yale. So we're excited.
So Beverly, you are considered an expert in historical Black romance, right? And that I find that challenging because we know so much. We know about the history of Blacks during antebellum South and all that other kind of stuff. How do you find romance in the midst of all that
Well,
suffering?
and that is part of the issue, is that Hollywood and a lot of fiction focuses on the pain. The kids call it pain porn.
Mm-hmm.
And they never consider how we carved out our lives in spite of all of that, the lynching and the disenfranchisement and the gutting and Reconstruction. But I do day-to-day people. We still had birthday parties. We still had marriages. We still had engagements. We still had colleges to build. And nobody touches on that. Nobody touches on the strides made by the first female Black doctors coming out of Pennsylvania in the 1880s. Nobody touches upon, the thing of Harriet Tubman. Nobody talks about Harriet Tubman's spiring when she was spying for the Union Army. Nobody touches on the Buffalo Soldiers who patrolled this country from the Canadian border to the Rio Grande, and were the law in a lot of places where there was no law. So you have this whole 100 years of Black excellence in spite of the Jim Crow, in spite of the lynchings. Because if we didn't keep going forward, we wouldn't be here today. But I don't whitewash it. You're gonna get the real deal, but you're also gonna get the parts of African American history that nobody teaches us. You're also gonna get strong Black women. You're gonna get supportive, strong Black men. Somebody else they don't get their flowers either. They have been defending this country since the French and Indian Wars, before it was even a country. And all we see on TV, well, things have changed a bit, but all we see on TV are deadbeat dads and brothers who are drug dealers. You don't see the men who are, supporting their wives or playing outside with their kids or, keeping their connections with their churches and with their families. So I think we as African American romance writers are giving you the full spectrum of our life and not just focusing on the pain. We know about slavery. We know what we've done. But, nobody's talking about all of the Black legislatures during, before and after Reconstruction. Nobody's talking about that history. We're not talking about the public schools that the freed slaves started in the South. There was no public schools in the South before these people became free. So I have a whole century to play with, to share. The Black and Brown outlaws of Indian Territory. I'll tell you this quick story. One of my readers, my readers love the history as much as they love the stories. And one woman, her grandson, did a Black history project. This was years ago. I don't remember whether he did the Black sheriffs of Bass Reef, or whether he did something on the East Coast. Anyway, the teacher was like, "Where'd you get this stuff?" Because she was impressed. And he said, "I got it from my grandma's Miss Bev books." So, to have that legacy, that not only are my readers reading, not necessarily for the love scenes, but for the history, and they can pass that on. Because if you educate a woman, you educate a race. So they are passing along this history to their children, to their sons. We have couples who are reading my stories at night for cuddle time. A lot of Black men read my stories because I write
I'm gonna
Westerns.
add that to my date night kind of vibe. Thank you very much for that.
You are very welcome. I get lots of letters from brothers who are saying, "Thank you, Miss Beth." But we as African American romance writers, in spite of the crap we've been getting from publishing and all that, stay true to the legacy, stay true to the trip. We're gonna give you a good story. We're gonna give you a positive story. We're gonna historical. We're gonna raise your knowledge on stuff that you may not know about, and be proud when you're done. One of my readers said, she said, Miss Bell, when I'm done with your books, I don't want to sing "Nobody Knows." So I'm on my fourth generation of readers now. Some are old hens like me, and then their daughters, and the daughters that are in college now. I have 2 young adult historicals for young ladies, very, very age appropriate, for young women from 12 to 18. They don't get the heat, but they get that old school, how you used to see that boy riding by your house on that bike and your heart just going, patter, pitter, patter, So in a historical setting. So I'm just, as my girlfriend says, sister, just out here trying to pay a light bill. I'm and sharing the joy of what it means to be African American in the United States.
Oh, I love it. I love it. So, Ife, tell us about the day. Tell us, what is the structure of the day, and what's the date of the Elm City Lit Fest?
So Lit Fest is September 9th, Saturday, September 9th. The conference is actually, is it the 7th, 8th, and 9th, January, or just the 8th and 9th?
There's an event that's an exhibition that starts on the 7th, but I can say more about that in a minute.
Okay. So the Lit Fest is on the 9th. From 11 to 1, we will have children's programming in the Stetson Library, and in the it's some in the Q House, and also entertainment. That's where the entertainment will be, in the plaza. And food is the food trucks will be there all the time. And then at 1 o'clock is when the conference will come over, and we'll start with the panel, and Adriana Herrera, a local writer, Tara Roy, and one other person I forgot. Oh my gosh. Which will be moderated by another Yale Div student, Ryan. Ryan is very excited about moderating that. And then we'll have an author's row in the gym of the Q House, where all the authors participating in the conference and Lit Fest will have tables for people to buy their books, get them signed, talk to the authors, and we'll also, and then about 2:15 or so, there's going to be, or maybe 3. There's going to be 2 workshops, one about developing characters, and we're going to have a brother, Jay Kemp, a local author, doing a workshop about Into You and Me, intimacy. So, and this year's Lit Fest, we will also, at the end, in the final half hour of it, we will be announcing New Haven's inaugural poet laureate, because New Haven doesn't have a poet laureate. So the Elm City poet laureate will be announced. And so the finalists will all be reciting poetry, their original poems about New Haven. And then we'll be announcing the poet laureate, and then we'll close down so we can get to the end of the conference, which is the keynote.
So, Jania, talk about the conference.
Sure. So the conference has a range of events going on. We're really excited. As Ibe mentioned, the dates are Friday, September 8th and Saturday, September 9th. There will be an exhibition on Black historical romance that is about basically Miss Babz' wonderful historical work and the items and kind of landscapes that she brings to life. That exhibition will be on view at the Beinecke Rare Book and Manuscript Library from Thursday, September 7th through Sunday, September 10th. But the lineup of the conference is really Friday starting in the afternoon and concluding with our big, wonderful keynote Saturday at 6 p.m. There's a film screening on Friday at 4. That's our kickoff event. A panel after the film. Miss Bev will be on the panel because she's in the film. A documentary, Love Between the Covers, is the film about the romance industry, and it's great. And we've gotten the documentary director, Lori Kahn, Miss Bev, and some other writers from the film and other folks in the romance industry, editors and commentators who will be speaking on the panel that Friday night. Saturday morning, we'll start at 9 a.m. Breakfast will be at 8, but 9 a.m. with one panel on romance as a site of education, challenge, and hope. So very much along the lines of what Miss Bev was just talking about earlier in terms of Black history and the real historical challenge that the genre of romance can offer to, ways that Black and other histories are misimagined in the public sphere, or not talked about. So that'll be at 9, and then at 10:45 we'll have another panel. This one I'm really excited about as well, with a couple of podcasters who are also romance writers and scholars, including Dr. Julie Moody Freeman of the Black Romance Podcast, and really shining a light on the extraordinary oral histories that she has done with Black romance writers, and that another podcast, Fated Mates, has done with other romance writers and folks, and some other scholars will be on that panel as well. And then, as Ife said, around 12:15, we're going to transition to the Lit Fest, have our third panel, or our fourth panel there at the Lit Fest with a wonderful group of authors, book signings, food trucks, and then yes, so excited.
So now, where's the bulk of your conference at? Is it on Yale's campus, or where is it?
It's at the Humanities Quadrangle building, which is at 320 York Street. It's right next to Toad's Place. It used to be.
Yeah.
The club Toad's Place. It's right next to her.
I know it.
Yeah.
And is it free and open to the public? Can anybody come, or do you have to register?
You do have to register. It is free, but we are asking people to register because seats are limited, and we're communicating to registrants in advance. But I just put a link in the chat with our website, and folks can go to our website and register, both for the conference and for a special How to Write a Romance Novel workshop, if you're interested, happening on Friday before the conference at 12:30.
Okay. So Beverly Jenkins, you're out here writing these wonderful, and let me say this. I read one of your contemporary romance novels, not one that is of historical nature.
Okay.
I was flying across the country, and I picked up the book in the airport.
Okay.
And I read it halfway going. I think I was going to California. I was going somewhere. And then I read it halfway through. And when I got to California, I couldn't wait to get back on the flight to come back so I could read the rest of the book. That's how good the book was. And so I've been a fan ever since. So I just
bless you.
I just want to fangirl you right there.
Well, you know what? I appreciate all members of the family. So, thank you so much for the support. And
so when you're writing historical fiction, I would imagine that you have to have a commitment to being accurate and with the details around what is happening.
Because there's so much inaccuracy with African American history. And I'm teaching also. I'm learning. My readers are learning. And I want to get it right. I don't want it to be challenged. I have and I have so many different women. A lot of my women are very, very varied in what they do in life. And I have a doctoral history. I'm just waking up. Okay. She's a doctoral student.
You all right?
Okay. And she was talking to her professor about the Great Exodus of 1879, which was the first mass migration of Black folks out of the South after Reconstruction. This is not to be confused with the Great Migration of 1900. This is 1879. So she's talking to her professor in her history class, and he's telling her he had never heard of this. She obviously had made it up. She must have it confused with. And so she told me, she said, luckily, Miss Bev, you put your cites at the end of your books. She said, so
Oh.
yeah, you get scholarly romance from me. So he said, at least that's what the Free Press called it. Detroit Free Press called it scholarly romance. So she said she just, gave him the cites. And so I said, well, what happened? Was he able to apologize with his foot in his mouth? And she said he was not happy. She said she got to be in the class. She said probably because, she, challenged him. But, it's, I love it. And no whitewashing, because you can't tell the history if you can't be true to it. But I'm enjoying it. I love what I do. I feel like I'm connected to every sister in this country, 6 degrees of separation.
I mean, do you know when you're going to write something historical or contemporary? Like, and which do you prefer? Because I read the book that I read of yours was contemporary,
Okay, yeah. I made my name doing historicals. I did historicals for the first 20 years, and then started doing the contemporaries because I like suspense and I like car chases and I like blowing stuff up. And you get that with the contemporaries. Most of them are set in my hometown of Detroit. But most of the contracts that I got, the first thing I sold was a historical. So they kept giving me contracts for historicals, and I kept writing historicals. I prefer the historicals. I do like cleaning the palette with the suspense. So a little bit of both. A little bit of both.
I like it. So Ife, so this is year 4, and the theme this year is
literature of hope.
Okay. And what does that mean? Tell me, what does that mean, Jania and Ife, literature of hope? What should I be thinking about when I hear the theme?
Well, when I first heard it from Genia Ree, I thought, why not? Like, we need, and you know this, I feel this way all the time, Beth, in the midst of our struggles of life, and as Ms. Bev mentioned earlier, like, we got a whole bunch of stuff happening. We still have to maintain some joy, and we still loving each other, and we're still having our rituals of, like, we went to this beautiful wedding Friday night of an African man and an African American woman, and it was just such a celebration of joy. So literature, when I think of romance novels, I think of all of that. And so the literature of hope means, like, yes, there are people that I've met that say, oh, I don't read any fiction. I only read these biographies or real stuff, essays and stuff. It's like, your life got to be so rigid and boring. Like, how do you find some joy?
Amen.
Okay. You can't be like this all the time. There has to be something places that we can go and literature that we read that inspires us, that rejuvenates and recharges us. And that's how I feel about it.
So Genia, what do you think of the future of romance? And I want you all to answer this, Beverly, you too. What is the future of romance? Is there a future for romance? Do we want more Black romance writers? And who are we not hearing from?
Those are great questions, Babz. I'm going to let Miss Bev take them. I'm going to come in a little later.
I think for a while I was very concerned because there was not a lot of young women or young men, because there's brothers writing this romance too, coming up behind us. But as more and more people started, protesting for diversity, we got Black women writing everything. Romance, what's one of the joys of romance too is because it's such a big genre. You can do erotica, you can do paranormal, you can do contemporary, you can do historicals, and you have Black writers doing all of that. So I think the future is open and all identities, which is new. Because love is love.
Mm.
And if trans people want to write romances, they can do that now. Gay people can write romance. Lesbians can write romance. The whole spectrum plus can now write romance. And because, like I said, love is love, and everybody needs to see themselves on the page, whether it's romance, whether it's science fiction, whether it's kids' books. Don't get me started. I'll be here till Tuesday. But
So Jania,
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I'm sorry, Faye.
I want to add to that too. I want to say in the 4 years since I started LiveFest, that I've been reading and meeting so many authors of color that want to be heard. Like from science fiction, like last year, our theme was Afrofuturism. And man, these people came out. And then we started 2 years ago, just from because of our first two LitFests having a comic and graphic novel panel or section. We had to start DiasporaCon because that's a whole nother genre in and of itself. And within the genre of comics and graphic novels, there's LGBTQ, there's it's so diverse. I am so excited, and especially in the time of people banning books that don't even read.
Hello.
Okay. These people don't even read and they banning books. And we have a surgence of writers of
preach,
color,
girl, preach.
of so many backgrounds. I mean, because they get in don't get me started either. Because like the list that they put on banned books don't even have the right authors with them. Like you don't even know who wrote the damn book that you're, excuse me, Harry, for cussing. You don't even know the author of the book that you're banning, and you post the wrong authors. So these are people that don't read. And anyway, but the opportunity. So LitFest is about the celebration of literature of the African diaspora for everyone. Like for us to know, of course, and see ourselves, and for them to know about us. Right. And not have these false perceptions from these mofos that don't read, that trying to run this country.
All right. Well, we got like a minute left, and my producer is waving at me. So we got a minute left, and Janae, I want you to get in, and then I'm gonna let Bev lead us out with, perspective if she wants. So
that sounds great. I'll just echo everything that has been said before, especially by Ife just now. That was great. The Literature Festival, the Literature of Hope Conference, these are not divorced from the larger political realities that are going to war against Black history and against women's bodies and against a whole lot more. Right? So we're just glad to open this space on campus and in the community. And I will say thank you for sharing the flyer. We haven't mentioned it, but Ms. Bev will be in conversation with Roxanne Gay for the keynote at 6 p.m. on Saturday. Again, that's at HQ at Yale.
I'm looking forward to it. So, Ms. Jenkins, you have the last word. What do you want us to know about romance?
Read. Read it. It's a literature of hope. It's comfort reading. It's dragons. It's cowboys. It's, and the support your indie bookstores. They're so valuable to the communities all over the country. And people are, African-American men and women and, people of all identities of color are opening bookstores. Please support them so that they can support the community. And if you can't afford books, get a library card. The best gift you can give a child, in my opinion, is a library card. Take it from this little colored girl from Detroit. We had more love than we had money. But every Saturday, I walked 16 blocks to my local library. Feed the need of your children to read. I'm out.
Thank you so much, Beverly Jenkins. Thank you so much, Jania Ray Moore. And thank you, Ife Michelle Gardine. We are looking forward to Lit Fest on September 9th. Well, starts the 8th for the conference, and then the 9th, and then and I'm gonna try to take in as much as I can. I'm gonna try to
Love
get
to see you
through
there.
it all. So yes, and I'm gonna go ahead and stack up on my historical romance novels now, girl. You done gave me some date night fuel.
My job here is done.
Thank you very much. Thank y'all so much for this wonderful conversation. I'm looking forward to the fourth annual Elm City Lit Fest, and I know it's going to be wonderful. So thank you all for your time and your talents, and I'll see you out here in these book reading streets.
Thanks so much, Babz. Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, Harry Droves. I'll see you tomorrow.